Dominion machines. We have 100% proof. And then when they took it down about 3 weeks ago, and then I put it back up, my personal, it was a
Mike, thank you very much. Mike, you're talking about machines that we at Newsmax have not been able to verify any of those kinds of allegations. While there were some clear evidence of some cases of vote fraud and election irregularities, the election results in every state were certified, and Newsmax accepts the results as legal and final. The courts have also supported that view. So we wanted to talk to you about canceling culture, if you will. We don't want to relitigate the allegations that you're making, Mike. Can I ask our producers, can we get out of here, please? I don't want to have to keep going over this. We at Newsmax have not been able to verify any of those allegations that you're
Mike, hold on a second. Everybody hold on a second. Mike, hold on 1 second. Let's talk a little bit about just what is happening overall in terms of censorship of...
Cancel out my company and myself.
Okay. Wasn't that incredible? All right, some explainers. The guy on the right is the pillow guy who was planning the coup until the very end, and the anchors worked at Newsmax. Newsmax was trying to stop him. He's a Trump ally. His name's Mike Lindell, from spreading baseless election fraud claims on air. You know why? Because Dominion has threatened to sue them. The network, Newsmax, along with Fox News and OAN, have faced legal threats from voting machine companies Dominion and Smartmatic for spreading disinformation about the role of their machines in the election result. Dominion has already filed a massive $1.3 billion suit against Rudy and has indicated that there may be more lawsuits to come. On our show, one of their spokesmen would not rule out a possible lawsuit against the president. We asked Dominion to see if they had a response to Newsmax's efforts to shut down Mike Lindell. They told us this, quote, "Nothing can undo the damage inflicted by malicious lies leveled against Dominion. These lies have diminished the credibility of U.S. elections, subjected officials and Dominion employees to harassment and death threats, and severely damaged the reputation of our company." Let's head to our conversation. GOP strategist, a co-founder of the Lincoln Project, our friend Rick Wilson. Donna and Alexi are still here. Rick Wilson, there was a deep pleasure that I felt watching someone shut down a liar because the lies have resulted in deaths. But I wonder what you think about the fact that it's only a company threatening massive punitive damages and legal fines that is getting any of these disinformation networks to back down.
It really is a striking sort of place we find ourselves in right now, that it takes a $1.3 billion lawsuit to scare these guys into not being lying propagandists and pumping out this slurry of conspiracy theories, fake news, and just pure chaos into our system. But watching that interview, Mike Lindell has been rewarded by television coverage for the last 6 to 8 months over this crazy set of theories. And when you're too nuts for Newsmax, you're too nuts. And so watching that happen, watching the fear in their eyes that there's going to be a legal sanction brought against them, which, I guarantee you, Chris Reddy was off stage going, off, it's that. Because these guys he was steering them into another $1 billion worth of legal jeopardy.
But work backwards from this. So I agree with you. Chris Reddy was probably going yank. That's why the anchor stood up. First, he talked to his producers on the air, which we've all been known to do in our most desperate hours, but not very often. And then he got up and left. But work backwards from that. I mean, a Capitol police officer was honored today in the Capitol for dying in the insurrection. And I haven't seen much of a change in tone or tenor over that crisis.
Well, Nicole, I thought the most outrageous thing about this is as Officer Sicknick lies in state, as he lies in a place of honor in the Capitol, we had people like Kevin McCarthy who led a caucus of 140 plus people who came out as his body was still warm and still voted to back the ludicrous conspiracy theory that Donald Trump had won this election, and still stood up and said that the election was invalid. And so the idea that Kevin McCarthy would go out there and dare to walk into that rotunda and expresses crocodile tears at the life officer being lost, it's just the tip of the iceberg. It is all supported by an enormous media enterprise that feeds part of this country a constant diet of lies and propaganda and conspiracies. And it is something that we've got to address as a country in a really big hurry.
The Lincoln Project is making basically economic sanctions and economic punishment for companies that support disinformation part of its strategy. What does that look like around news organizations, right-wing news organizations?
Well, I think we haven't gotten to the point where we're trying to dismantle their financial underpinnings as we've done with a lot of the major Wall Street folks and the U.S. Political parties. But what we are seeing is that Fox is dropping in ratings. It's going to go more crazy rather than less crazy. It's going to go more aggressive rather than less aggressive into this zone of conspiracy and lunacy. And the lower tier bottom feeders, they're like those carp that live outside of a sewer pipe. They're going to sit there and get kind of fat happy for a while, but they're going to always be disgusting. So that's where OANN and Newsmax and all these other emergent sort of far right, alt right, creep right media outlets are going to be.
Don Edwards, former Republican. Oh, yeah, go ahead, Alexi.
Sorry, I just wanted to say that exact point is what is going to continue to encourage congressional Republicans to follow on this path that they want, because that's where their folks are. We saw before the election Fox News viewers flocking to Newsmax and Parler and all these other right-wing places to make them feel safe, to have their voices and their views reinforced because they couldn't possibly deal with reality. And it is so dangerous but so rich to see Newsmax, of all places, which has perpetuated these lies, peddled disinformation, had Trump so-called lawyers who weren't actually good at what they were doing on to perpetuate these lies around the election. And now they're saying, oh, no, it's too much. It's way too late for them to step out of this when they have helped perpetuate this culture and given folks a home. They gave them a new home to come to and feel safe and hear this information. And it is way too late for them to step back from this.
And, Don, it's something I was going to raise with you. Former Republican Senator Bob Corker was here yesterday and tried to put out and posit this sort of, 1996 theory that, both sides sort of veer toward opinion in their entertainment arenas in the evenings. Well, only one side provided the content for the insurrectionists. Only one side has a primetime anchor who's defending Marjorie Taylor Greene. I mean, the idea that opinion has to be detached from facts only happens on the right. It only happens on Fox and Newsmax and OAN. There is no example. And I think even when you have people who aren't giving safe harbor to Marjorie Taylor Greene, who aren't Kevin McCarthy and Ted Cruz and Josh Hawley, you still have an entire political party who isn't there yet in condemning the enablers of that entire movement, that entire sort of turn to violence to carry out their political objections.
Well, and Nicole, only one side is competing for the crazy conspiracy theorists in both in the media and in the Congress. I mean, look at the fracture that's happening in the Republican Party on the Hill, where you've got the competition for the crazies going on. And then the same thing is happening with the media, where Fox and Newsmax and OAN are all competing for that conspiracy audience. And so there is no end here, and they can't simply disavow themselves, because that is their audience, that is their home, and it's why Marjorie Taylor Greene is the face of the new Republican Party.
That's exactly right. Rick Wilson, we love getting to talk to you. Thank you for spending some time with us today. Donna and Alexi are sticking